Hello, modeling friends. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing fine myself, and I've just finished up a few hours of work on the Rolls-Royce armored car, and I wanted to share my progress because I have made quite a bit, at least for me anyway. And so let's get right into it. I'm going to try to show it to you without it falling apart because it's not completely glued up or detailed yet. But I have done quite a bit to it, and I've got quite a bit done on it. It really looks like a vehicle now that when you get the wheels on it, and of course the primer is covered up with the base color gray now. I sprayed that out last night, and it's really starting to take shape. I really like it, and I went with the turret, which has the two machine guns on the top, or has one on the top and one through the window in the front, and then also has a port with a sniper rifle sticking out as well right there. And I really have enjoyed this. I'm really having a really good time with it, and it's really coming together for me. And it's the best, the most success I've gotten on a model yet. And I've learned so much from messing up things on the hind, and took those lessons and used them on this as well, and made a lot of good moves on this one, and have really enjoyed working on it. And it's starting to look really good. So I'm getting ready to start doing some weathering on it, and I have some questions. So anyone who could leave some comments down there, um, I will ask some questions at the end of the video, and if you could just throw me a few comments for some tips and tricks, I would really appreciate it because I haven't been able to find a lot of information regarding what I'm specifically asking um, for some of the questions that I have. Okay, enough said about that. I have just finished up the turret, which has some very tiny fiddly part, little tiny parts and pieces like this turret gun on the top is very hard for me to very hard for me to glue. I had to use tweezers on it, and of course my hands shake quite a bit, so it took a long time to get that done as well. And then of course the turret itself, it fit together really well, and I'm very happy with it. The wheels have just been set on there; they're not glued where they go. It's the spare tires anyway. And the turret was really interesting, and it fit together pretty well. Well, I thought it did anyway. And I painted some of the, you can see the parts that I painted on the sprue because it was just easier for me to do it that way, to have it on the sprue before, and paint it with the airbrush that way to do most of the painting. The odd part is that most of the detail inside and the weapons, it's probably hard for the camera to pick it up in there, but the weapons inside are actually detailed, very detailed with stock and clips, for ammo in there and everything else. And it's never really seen, unless of course you take the turret off. And from the outside, it's never really seen. The interesting part I found out about this that I didn't know until I just started building the turret was it actually had a port here. Well, this is an option, one of the options of the build, to have a sniper rifle port there, and it's got a sniper rifle sticking out of it, and that's pretty interesting, I thought as well, along with this with the machine gun there in the regular port. So the turret turns as well, and so the machine gun also rotates 360 degrees on the top machine gun as well. Really very interesting. And the Meng models, I'm got an appreciation for them because of the detail, especially the riveting. It's just amazing. On a model this small, this kind of detail is just fascinating to me. So the turret is all done, and we're going to do some primer on the parts you can see that haven't been primed yet before I paint them, of course. And of course, and then I just stuck the wheels on so we could get an eyeball to see what they look like. You can really see this much better now that since I covered up um, the primer coat that was on there. All I had was white primer, so it was really just blowing out the camera, so you couldn't really see any of the details. And now that I've got the gray on it, it's much better. And of course, I fixed my lighting. I've got my lighting set up so much better now to show better detail and to not be just washed out blasting light all over the place. So there's a good look at it. And since I couldn't show it as well before, there's the undercarriage and the chassis in the bottom. And it's just so finely detailed under there. That's what took me a long, long time to build the chassis up and get it right underneath. But now it's looking really, really, really good. And for me, this is really good. This is not just standard for someone, someone who has experience would probably say, well, it's nothing spectacular, but I have almost zero experience. So to be able to complete something this intricate is quite an accomplishment for me. And I'm getting very proud of it, and I'm enjoying it so much more than I did the helicopter, which was just a battle, a constant battle. This is really, really interesting to me, and I'm having a really good time with it. So that is that. I had mentioned previously as well about the problems that I have with the photo etch wheels because there was an option, which I will show. There was an option for wire wheels for an earlier model of it. And this is the photo etch that I was talking about. And you can see, I mean, everyone knows how thin photo etch is, but you can see how small the spokes are. I mean, they're like a hair, the width of a hair in there. You know, to try to fit these together. And so what you would do is, that's why there's two missing. What you would do is you would pop two of these out, and one would be the inside spoke and one would be the outside spoke. But they're so fragile. I mean, I just, you sneeze or you just bump it and they're bent out of shape. And then you would sandwich them between two hard plastic wheels here. So there you have a right or an inside and outside of the plastic wheels. And then you would have to glue the whole edge of the plastic wheel. It was a fit, and as I mentioned before, I it took me an hour to get one that almost looked right, and this is basically what I ended up with. So you can see what kind of a mess it was. If the camera will pick it up, um, I ended up getting it in there, but in doing so, trying to bend it and trying to make it look right in there, the photo etch was just so thin and so tiny um, because it has to go from the hub. It gets flared out on either side. And like I said, I got one done, but it just didn't look right and wouldn't sit right. So I went with the regular steel wheels for it, which I think look okay on it. I think it looks good for this particular version of it that I'm building. And it really starting to look like a car now rather than just a bunch of pieces glued together, which I appreciate a lot. And the turret took me a long time. It's almost 5 o'clock in the morning here, and I've been working on it since about 2. So it took me quite a bit of time because there were so many tiny little pieces in here, and I struggle with the tiny little intricate pieces and parts. So that's progress for me. It's getting very close now, and it's encouraging when something that I'm working on gets this far along to where I can actually see that it's actually looking like something. And then, it's inspiring for me as well, too, that I'm able to do it at all. Because as I said before, I just don't have much experience with this type of thing. But I'm really liking the main model. The fit, the fit was so nice. I mean, it was all I've built so far are Tamiya models, and they're generally, in my experience anyway, which is limited, of course, but their fit is pretty well good, and you don't have to wrestle with it too much. Well, the Ming is right there with it. At least this one is. The fit didn't give me a hard time really anywhere. It's just my lack of experience that caused problems on it more than anything else. So there we have it, the promised update for it. Now that I have the base coat on it, what I would like to know, and this is a question, if someone could leave the answer in the comments, I would appreciate it. But so what I've done is, this is just the base coat. This is Vallejo um, gray. I believe it's the coal gray. I just used game color because it sprayed through my airbrush very well. And what I want to do is I want to weather it, but I also want to use panel line wash on it too. So what I have for panel line wash is this Tamiya panel line accent color. And I know that this is an enamel, or I believe it's an enamel based panel line wash. And of course the Vallejo is acrylic, based paint. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to start doing the panel line wash on it and then have it just ruin the base color that I have here before I can have a chance to weather it. So the information that I have found was I have found a couple different ways that people have said to do it. There was a couple of ways. One person actually said that they would spray it with a gloss coat first, and then they would use the panel line wash after that. They would put the decals on after that, and maybe even do some weathering. And then for the final coat to protect it, they would use a matte varnish. So I made sure I got myself some of the good old AK 180 163 matte varnish, because this stuff is, I mean, I've had really good luck with it in the past, and I really like it. And I've already had some Liquitex matte varnish as well too that I had bought, but I've never used this before, so I'm kind of reluctant to just dump it on the model in case there's a problem with it. So my question is, do I need to gloss coat it? I don't have any gloss coat varnish, and I really don't have the finances to buy anything else right now. So what I would like to know is, would it be okay just to use the matte ultra matte varnish, the AK ultra matte varnish on it, and then be safe using this enamel panel line color, the Tamiya, to highlight the rivets and everything like that? Because what I want to do, and I know this is an acrylic matte varnish as well, what I would like to do is weather it with oils maybe, or even dry brush after that, but something other than acrylic. And I just don't want to ruin it after I've gotten it this far. So if someone can leave some information in the comments, I would appreciate it. Tell me what they think the best way to do it would be, because obviously you can't, I don't want to leave it looking like this. It needs to look weathered and beat up, because if it's been in battle, it needs to have damage and wear and tear on it just to look right. And I would appreciate anybody's input. And once again, as promised, I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. And here is the good old Rolls-Royce armored car with much progress made on it. So much that I'm kind of impressed in myself, actually, because I'm really not that patient, and I don't think I'm really that skilled or that good for us. So to get it this far is really an accomplishment for me. So there we have it, the Rolls-Royce armored car. And I will give another update when I get ready to do the detailing, the weathering, and after I read the comments from you guys and suggestions that you can give me. I will go ahead and proceed that way, and I will upload another video once I get a little bit farther along in that as well. And once again, I appreciate everything that you guys suggest for me, and all the tips and tricks, and when you share your experience, I really appreciate that so much, because that's not something you can buy, and the fact that you're willing to just share it with me means a lot to me. Hope everybody's doing well, and everybody is safe, and we will catch up to you on the next video. And as always, stay safe and fight the good fight. Talk to you later.